everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tara East. I'm a writer, blogger, YouTuber, and the author of the mystery novel Every Time He Dies. And in this week's video, I want to talk about whether you are process-orientated or goal-orientated. There are countless ways to approach writing. Our routines and methods are constantly evolving and changing in response to the needs of our current project and, of course, our schedules. I know that for myself, my writing routine is constantly changing in big and small ways in response to the other areas of my life. But recently, I was reflecting on how my attitude to writing has changed. I used to be very goal-orientated, but now I seem much more driven by my actual process. So what's the difference? Being goal-orientated, as the name suggests, means that your motivation comes from completion. As a writer, that may look like finishing a first draft, then a structural edit, and then a line edit. Their focus tends to be on the horizon rather than on their feet. These types of writers still care about their process, but not at the expense of their goal. These are usually type A personalities who are driven by producing measurable outcomes. These are the types of writers who pride themselves on being efficient. They are not the type to do multiple scrappy drafts as a way to figure out the story. And the idea of deleting an entire chapter or section is basically not an option. If time and energy have been sunk into a project, then that project had better perform. Being goal-orientated doesn't necessarily mean that the focus is singular and that it is strictly on publication, though honestly, that probably is the ultimate goal, that and hitting the New York Times bestseller list. But with each stage of the writing process, whether that be thinking, drafting, or editing, this type of writer is more motivated by the idea of completing a stage than by actually doing the work itself. These are the types of writers who are more happy for having written than they are in the actual act of writing. Writers who are process-driven, however, find joy in the art of making, and they are less concerned with the success or completion of a project. Writing, period, is a good use of their time because they don't feel the pressure, or they don't put the pressure on the work to actually work. These types of writers are more likely to be creative and playful with their writing. They see creativity as play. The stakes around their writing are lower because they approach writing in a manner that is exploratory, and the joy of making is what is valued most. Process-driven writers will have set goals, but not at the expense of process. For them, it is all about how their writing happens, and less about what their writing can achieve. Now, please note that these two modes of creating are not mutually exclusive, and most people will probably sit somewhere between the two, or their motivation for creating may change between projects or be influenced by external or internal factors. From what I've seen in my creative writing students and clients, setting clear, measurable goals and figuring out an approach to writing that is exciting and doable are equally important. Setting a word count goal may be the perfect way to motivate yourself one day. Another day, you may be more motivated by the idea of mapping out various versions of a single scene. Years ago, I watched an interview with Josh Homme, who is the frontman of Queens of the Stone Age, and he made this comment that if you expect music to do anything for you, you're expecting too much. The same can be said for writing, but we don't need to take this quote quite so literally, because I do have expectations around my writing, except those expectations have nothing to do with fame or fortune, and everything to do with living a rich and fulfilling creative life. And yes, look, I know how Pollyanna-ish that sounds, because we live in a society and culture where monetary value is how we measure the worth of almost everything. But the rewards I reap from writing are beyond measure. Please don't vomit. I was goal-orientated for the first few years of my writing life because I was desperate to get some publications under my belt and lay the foundation of a sturdy portfolio career. But over the course of the last 2 years in particular, I've become much more driven by process. I'm less focused on achieving a certain number of publications every year and more concerned with the quality of those publications. Of course, setting goals and having something to work towards is a great idea, not to mention fun. And I still set goals for myself, but they tend to be a lot more flexible and, frankly, within my control. Setting goals for our writing isn't strictly necessary, nor is perfecting our writing routine or creating elaborate rituals. It just depends on why you write and what the expectations around your writing are. It doesn't matter if you're goal or process orientated. Setting goals is an easy way to measure progress, and considering your process will ensure that the achievement of those goals is enjoyable and emotionally rewarding. But being aware of which category you lean towards will assist you in better balancing the two. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Are you goal-orientated or are you process-orientated? Do you feel like you have moved between the two over time or between projects? I'd really love to know, so leave a comment below and tell me all about it. Now, if you'd like even more writing advice, you can of course check out the other videos on this channel, or you can visit taraeast.com and go into the archives. There, you'll find a slew of writing advice on various topics. I'm sure there will be something in there that will suit your needs. While you're there, be sure to join my email newsletter, because when you do, I'll send you a free gift and you'll get a newsletter in your inbox every single Thursday morning containing a note by me, a quote of the week, some resources I've recently loved and think you will too, as well as some tidbits that I only share via email. Thank you so much for being here again this week. I really appreciate it. Stay safe, stay calm, and keep writing, because the world actually does need more books.